So I read The Things They Carried by Tim O'Brien. Um, it was originally published in 1990, and I read this entire book cover to cover, every word on every page. Um, it is a very interesting book, in my opinion. There are some books that, to me, are slow and takes a while to get into, and this is definitely not one of those books. It is written from the author's standpoint, so Tim O'Brien himself is telling the story of from his point of view, as he was in the Vietnam War, and his company, it's the Alpha Company. So he tells his story and the things he witnessed within his company, revolving around his other soldiers. The Things They Carried is actually the very first chapter. He talks about the things that each of his soldiers carry and what they mean to them and how it protects them in a sense, even in intangible ways, such as like guilt and fear and things like that. He goes into detail with, like, each chapter is a different story for the most part. So he talks about deaths of soldiers in his company, things that they have to go through, things that they have to accomplish, some of the horrific events that they have to attend and are actually a part of. It's very interesting for anybody that likes to read about things like that. There are some parts that are kind of hard to read just from an empath standpoint, because he does talk about one of his closest friends passing away in the Vietnam War, and the events that lead to that, and how he actually passed, and the relationships between the soldiers within the company. So some parts are a little hard to read, but it is a very good book. It is very interesting. So I tied this into a lesson plan revolving around the Vietnam War itself and how the Cold War influenced, like, the domestic and the international events that happened, which the Vietnam War followed the Cold War. And part of my lesson was just students identifying the causes of the Vietnam War and the events that happened before, during, and after, how long the Vietnam War lasts, and things such as that. I implemented virtual field trips into my lesson plan, as well as the required textbook for the grade, and The Things They Carried, of course. And one thing that I wanted to do within my lesson plan was try to get students to make connections between the information that they're given in a textbook and real life events that happened within the Vietnam War. Of course, I chose 6th grade because this would be an older student topic, and some of the things would, of course, have to be altered in order to implement it into the classroom. So some of the things in some of the chapters wouldn't necessarily go into the lesson plan or be discussed in class. But I really do enjoy this book, and I think it would be a great read for anybody that is interested in history and the Vietnam War.